ain't tragic. Mortgage demon slain, payments ain't passive. Affordability, modern life, that's classic. Tiny homes, big dreams, stacking up the cream. Modular escapes, not just what it seems. Lux in a box, making mad streams.
Ready for the hook. It's coming in.
Kristina on the stream, show us Kings 17.
Happy Sunday, everybody. I'm going to make a music video to this, like I do for the end of the stream. I'm in the process of doing it. Since you guys really liked that song that I created for the end of the stream, and you guys commented how much you liked this song, so I'm going to go ahead and make a little video to play at the beginning of the stream before we start, but I think it makes it fun. Anyways, so let me just tell you what happened. A friend was supposed to be on the stream today. I know that you guys know Kyle Seagraves from Win the House You Love channel was supposed to be on today, and he got himself a little jelly belly, got himself a little food poisoning, a little stomach bug. So, you know, he just didn't want to have to run to the bathroom every time that he's on camera. So he said that he can make it next week. And we were supposed to be talking about mortgage rates, and he was going to give you all the answers for all your mortgage questions. We're going to still talk about mortgage rates, but I just can't give as much advice on mortgages because I'm not a mortgage broker. I'm a real estate agent. So anyways, but that's here or there. I know that you guys have probably heard that the Fed had dropped the rates 50 basis points, which was way beyond what was expected. It was supposed to go down a quarter, according to economists. So when it went down 50, of course, then the stock market rallied. Woo! And everybody has this illusion that mortgage rates coming down. But they don't come down 50, points. Like, don't think that, it's going to go down 0.5%. It follows like the futures, what they think is going to happen. And that's why mortgage rates fluctuate every single day. It's always following the stock market. It's never fixed on a price. A matter of fact, mortgage rates change in each state. Like what we get here in Louisiana is not going to be the same in Alabama as it is in Texas. So, and of course it follows your credit score. But I knew immediately whenever they started talking about mortgage rates, they're like, now homes are more affordable, because usually, when it comes to a house, people are rate sensitive because they're trying to keep their payments down. Makes total sense. But when your median price home is over $400,000, that still leaves out a good portion of the United States that can afford a house. And I'm like, oh, the gaslighting starts again. It's just a hair above, 6%, 6.09% is where it was at on Friday afternoon. And it will be interesting because if it even breathes a fragment into the fives, you're going to see all the headlines. Affordability's back. You can see more buyers that were sitting on the fence are going to start buying because affordability is back. I mean, unless you're living in an area that has had a significant amount of reduction in price, they're still leaving out a good portion of the United States that cannot still buy a home because homes are just entirely too expensive in their specific area. Now, this isn't true of everywhere, but it's a good portion of the United States. Even Austin, Texas, when we had Angie on last week, the prices have come down significantly there, right? But it's still, the median cost of a home is still really up there. So when you're getting into your very first home and the median income doesn't match the median price home, what are you left with? Some pretty dilapidated properties. So anyways, yay. Oh, all right. We got some people in the stream. Let's say hello to some people. I'm going to say hello to B14 Life. Yay. 1% is not lower than lower. Shake my head. I bought my house already for that rate. Yay. Where's my manners? Greetings and salutations, everyone. Christy and, of course, the man behind the scene, Eddie. Man with a planned smile. Oh, well, let me just explain something to everybody. Everybody doesn't know this, but Eddie's, what Eddie does for the channel is exactly what you see right now. He makes the comments show up on the screen. And then he supports me throughout the week, giving me little pep talks and stuff. But all the editing and like everything that you see on the screen that comes from little old me. That's all me. From the time I started this channel, everybody was like, your husband does such a great job. And I'm like, what does he do? I do the work and he gets the credit. I know I'm a little bitter. SB says a very good comment. We still need inventory. We totally still need inventory. Rates won't encourage me till the price is right. And that's how I feel like a lot of people are feeling about what's going on in the housing market. Like, no matter how, like, even if it was at the 2-3%, a majority of people that have been trying to find their very first home are feeling like my first home shouldn't cost me $425,000. I mean, and I'm talking in like places like here in, outside of Baton Rouge, like in these places that used to be extremely affordable, you could easily find a house for $135,000. Now it's like, if you find one for $250,000, you feel like you won the lottery, and it's going to need a lot of work, and then you add the insurance rates on top of that too. That's another thing that a lot of newer buyers, new first-time home buyers are facing, is homes that like they were like, oh, I can't afford this. This would be great. My payment would be just right. And then they get those insurance quotes in, and it's like, holy cow. And then on top of that, a lot of areas are now requiring flood insurance. And it's like, well, how much is that? And so then you add your flood insurance on top of it. Then your payment is even more. So something that you technically just a couple of years ago would have been able to afford if it was in that 250 range, then you add the insurance and the taxes, and now it's out of range because that has like doubled in a lot of areas. Like my area, it doubled. So hello behind Levi's Stadium. Hi Amanda. You gotta let him shine a little. Oh, I will tell you this. He is a good looking dude. I mean, he's a little bit younger than me. I guess I'm a cougar, but he is a good looking dude. I let him shine. We have low inventory here in San Francisco Bay Area. Yes. Oh, and you know what I heard about the San Francisco Bay Area is that they have originally, when it came out with like the tiny home idea to create more supply of houses on the market and allow for people to have more income streams if they were going to rent these out. When they first came out, I mean, you basically had to like give away your first child in order to get a tiny home in your backyard, or a what they call an ADU, auxiliary dwelling unit, right? Now they have loosened that up a ton. And now they've even said that like you can stack them on top of each other so they can be as high as they'll allow in that area. So, and then I heard that you can actually parcel off that area that has that ADU and sell it individually. So now you've like shortened up the parcel space, but you've sold that ADU behind it. I don't know of anybody who's actually done that yet. I'm sure it's been done, but I don't know anybody that has done it yet. But they're trying to make it more accessible to people, to make more land, basically, because in an area you can't make more land, but they found a way to kind of like slice off pieces of land that people already own, and then they have a way of supplementing their income with either rentals of ADUs or with selling those off as another residence. Interesting. In 10 years, I'd like to see how this plan has actually panned out, I guess is the word I want to use. I want to see if it really does help the community or does it hinder it, and what does the community as a whole think of it. Right now it's all exciting because it's new, but who knows? Jose said, I'll be building a modular home next year because of Kristina, Westchester Modular. Woo! Hey, you guys, I'm actually working on a video, another modular home video of a company out of Utah. It's a neat place. They do a lot of ADUs. Speaking of that, Eddie, you might want to mute yourself. Everybody just heard you cough. Eddie just did a nice big groan there. Oh, we got to get into our article in just a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and read King City's question here. It says, question, Eddie and Kristina, taking you to a World Cup game in 2026 in North America.
I was gonna answer this one. She might not be, but I will.
Yeah, I'm not going. I don't know if you guys know this, but yay, sports, not my thing. The noise of the crowd, even on the television, I don't know what it is. It personally makes like my skin crawl. Just not a sports person. I try to like it. I love the like vibe of the outside, the tailgating and stuff. That's super fun. But to be inside and feel confined, and the noise, that constant roar of the crowd, not so exciting for me anymore. I don't know what the problem is. Eddie, can you go ahead and put the articles on the stream? All right, mortgage rates are already down and heading lower. Here's what's ahead for homeowners and buyers after the Fed's rate cut decision. Everybody was so stoked about this too. It was a big shock. The Federal Reserve decided to cut rates for the first time for 4 years in a decision Wednesday suggesting that more rate cuts are coming. This is great for business. This is great news for business, especially small businesses and companies that rely on operating lines of credit to manage their day-to-day affairs. Lower rates flow to the bottom line. The world of housing will be getting a jolt from rate cuts that said that the price of money has already been working its way to help homeowners and buyers. But the price is still high. The Fed cut its key federal funds rate from 5.25 to 5.5 to 4.75 to 5. Projections suggest more rate cuts are coming in November and December, with the year-end rate probably ending with a 4.25 to a 4.5. Mortgage rates will continue to fall, but probably not as dramatically as changes is seen in October 2023. The rate of a 30-year fixed rate mortgage is closing at 6%. Mortgage rates have not seen below 6% since September of 2022. Many housing experts believe home buying and selling will surge if rates successfully fall below 6%. And anybody that's in the chat right now, I want to ask you one thing. If you have a mortgage rate under 3%, would seeing mortgage rates at 5% encourage you to sell? Because everybody I've spoken to that has those below 3% mortgage rates, they're like, I'm dying in this house. I'm going to be buried in the backyard. There's no way I'm getting rid of it. So I don't know if that's going to loosen up supply as much as they say it will. I think that some people that maybe were on the fence or have gotten a better, higher paying job, maybe, but I'm going to say nah. Construction Crony says housing is totally bonkers in Canada. I always say Canada. Our house we bought over 5 years ago is already worth $200,000 more, but the rates are sucking away more. But the rates are sucking way more out of us after we renewed. Yeah, see, in Canada, the mortgage rates run different. They don't have a 30-year fixed rate mortgage and they have to refinance. Cheers to Cougars. Oh, yeah, thanks. He's only a couple of years younger than me. He lied to me when I met him, by the way. He told me he was older. All right. Mortgage News Daily said that its rate, daily rate on Wednesday was 6.15, up a little from Tuesday, 6.11. The rate, however, is now down to 8.3 rate cited in October 2023, just before the Fed announced it was ready to cut rates. It was 6.09 on Friday. The weekly rate was a survey from Freddie Mac, is one of the biggest suppliers of mortgage capital, put the 30-year fixed rate mortgage at 6.2% of September 12th. Bank rate said on Wednesday, the 30-year rate nationally was 6.28. It went down. The monthly payment has come down a lot. See, this is where they're telling you, oh, go buy. At the 8% rate seen in October 2023, the principal and interest rate payment on the 30-year $250,000 mortgage was $1,834. At the 6.2 rate, the monthly payment on same loan drops at 16.5% would be $1,532, which is a lot of money. It's nearly $300, So, but how many houses, like in most major areas, you're not going to be able to find a house for $250,000. I mean, but refinancing activities should pick up, especially if rates continue to fall. Many buyers who bought homes when the rates were at 7.5 or higher are probably talking to their lenders already about the refinancing of their loans. And this would have been one of those questions for Kyle, but Kyle, like I said, got the stomach bug. Baker said that the average national refinance rate is 6.33. In the past, many experts have said that the best time to refinance is when the mortgage drops 2 percentage points. So, wait until you're 2 percentage points. Evidence of a decline in mortgages rates could see 2 housing reports on Wednesday. Mortgage applications jumped. That is no surprise. The weekly mortgage applications index from Mortgage Bankers Association rose 14.2%. Refinance applications surged 24%, and purchase applications jumped 5%. Housing starts in August increased. The Commerce Department starts moving up at 9.6% month over month to its seasonally adjusted annual rate of 1.356 million units. Briefing.com had projected 1.32 million starts. Single-family starts soared 15.8%. Building permits rose 4.9%, which is good. This is a good thing because we definitely need a more supply of homes. And if they're pulling out permits, that means that they feel good enough to say, hey, we may not build now, but we're going to go ahead and start with the red tape that always happens when you're building more housing. We're going to go ahead and start pulling the permits before we start building. So good signs, all good signs. More supply coming on the market. Muddy Sneaker 77 says plans to privatize Fannie and Freddie. Privatize Freddie and Fannie. A deal would call for the government to try to sell a chunk of its holdings in mortgage giants to investors, including sovereign wealthy funds. Yeah, well, just another day in unprecedented times. We've been sold this thing that we need to privatize. We need to privatize. We need to deregulate. We need to deregulate. But we see what happens when major industries, when that happens, right? The medical industry has turned it in. There's, no nonprofit hospitals do not exist. The cost of healthcare has soared because we privatized everything. See what happens with that? I mean, I'm not saying that government is the answer to everything, but we can't let these people run amok either. There has to be some eyes on it saying, hey, you're not doing the right thing here. This isn't good. This isn't good. D. Riley says we need more variety in housing types and local zoning law reform so we can get more homes at a different price points. A dozen or more suburban tract developments in town starting at only $600K helps nobody. You know what? I just told you I was at this modular home company in Utah called Irontown Modular. And they were showing me a really interesting, I'm going to add this to the video. What they were saying is there's no middle housing. So you can get your apartment complexes and your condominiums, that you have those. And then you have, single family $600,000 houses. Where's the middle of the road housing? Because like up north, it's pretty common to see row houses, but they don't build newer row houses. They don't do that as often. They're either making single family dwellings or they're doing high-rise apartments. So I agree with you. They need more middle housing. And in the video, I'll show you the graph of what they consider middle housing. And that would help a lot. And not only that, it saves a lot of square footage space on lots, because that's the biggest thing. Like, in order for it to pencil out for a builder, you have to put so much square footage in order for them to make a profit. And if you did like row housing, that would work. But for some reason, we don't do that. I don't know why. I don't know why we don't do that anymore. That's just one example. SB says, yay, sports. Not your jam. It's okay. Yeah, I'm not a sports person. Hello, Vanessa. It's good to see you. Oh, if you guys haven't checked this out yet, after Kathy's question, I'm gonna show you something cool. All right, Kathy says, question, just put money down on a farm in Kentucky. Rate is about 5.99. We closed on November 8th. Do you think it will drop more before we have to close? Driving back to Minnesota right now. Just, you got 5.99, stay where you're at. If it's locked in, just keep it locked in. Who knows what's going to do with rates? I mean, if it goes down a scotch, it's not going to make that big of a difference. You're good. You're under 6%. Most people would die for that right now. Okay, so this is what I want to show you. All right, so Eddie even put it on the screen if you could. So I have a new service. So if you dial 888-255-0197, this is this is an answering service. So it's my voice and you get to hear this, right?
This is Kristina Smallhorn. Thanks for calling into my live stream. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
Kristina. Oh, it's a little slow. It's AI.
I didn't quite catch that.
Oh, she didn't hear me.
Please tell me your name and the city and state you're calling from.
I'm just Debbie Brady.
Great, Debbie. And where are you calling from?
Florida.
Thanks, Debbie from Florida. What's your question for the live stream?
How much are mortgage rates going to drop in the next week?
That's a great question, Debbie. I'll make sure to get it answered on the next live stream. Thanks for calling in. See you on the live stream. Goodbye.
All right. So next week we will have Kyle Seagraves here. And if you want to ask any questions about mortgages, mortgage rates, refinancing, financing tiny homes, financing modular homes, financing traditional homes, even row homes like we just talked about, go ahead and leave those questions on there. Now, I will not use your last name. I'm just going to put your first name on the screen and we will share your question. And Eddie, you can show them exactly how this question will look. Don't put up Brittany's, put up Chris's. All right. I know it just kind of copies your voice. I know she sounds AI Kristina sounds bad. Yeah, I know. If you could put up one of those.
Orlando, Florida.
I said, don't do this one.
God.
I said, don't put up Brittany's.
Alberta, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I'm looking for a prefab modular home builder for Oklahoma, whether they can ship here or build here. I need some help. Amanda.
Okay. Thank you, Amanda, for your question. That was fantastic. So the thing about modular home companies, they're much like a custom home builder. And every state and every city is going to have different custom home builders or modular home builders in your area. Now, I'm talking about the true modular homes, there are some nationwide companies that do make modular homes, but I'm talking about the ones that look more like traditional housing. You're going to have to do a little research on this. I don't have one specifically for Oklahoma right now. I do know one builder that builds SIPs, but I don't know if he's building individually because he's working on a whole subdivision right now. SIPs construction is a type of modular construction where it's structural insulated panels. I always want to say engineered. I don't know why, but it's structural insulated panels. But what you have to do is go on the internet, find some companies that they'll be like, random names like Jim's Modular Homes, right? If I would go to their website, start looking at their homes, and then find reviews online. That's going to be your biggest thing. So start looking through the Google reviews, see how they answer them. Nothing will tell you what kind of builder you're working with than their replies to people in comment sections or on reviews. Because I've seen some nasty, nasty, nasty replies. And I was like, I would never work for that person. It wasn't what they said. It was how they said it, because they're rude. So that's what I'll tell you to do. You have to do a lot of legwork ahead of time. If there's someone in particular that you want me to look at, go ahead and email me at info@KristinaSmallhorn.com, and I'll take a look at the company and tell you if you should go further with that. Because I'm pretty good at smelling BS. I'll leave it at that. Was that future AI Kristina? No, I hope not. I hope that the future Kristina has more personality than me. Wes has a question. Will your AI call and replace your question in the chat? Absolutely not. We will always have questions in the chat. I just thought it was a nice way to be able to have you guys hear your own voice on the live stream, and it would make it, shareable, more shareable. Like, hey, I just asked a question about the house, and this is what she had to say. And that way they could, share it with family and friends to hear their voice on the live stream. I just thought it was cool because I wanted a call-in show for everybody to interact with one another. And the questions on the screen are fantastic. Don't get me wrong. And there's some people that will never, ever, ever want their voice being heard, but there's other people that want to hear their own voice. They want to have their voice heard. So I thought this was a way to kind of do a call-in show without actually having someone man the lines and have to vet those people ahead of time. I got a bunch of phone calls. A lot of them were hangups. I think they're real estate agents. They want to know what this is all about. And the AI is kind of tricky. I'm not going to lie. Like you heard it. Sometimes it pauses a little too long. Sometimes it doesn't really hear your answer. It's a work in progress. It's something that I'm beta testing for a friend. Not even a friend. It's just a company that I ran into when I was in Dallas, Texas. So I offered it up to help out. And I'm really excited about it. I love getting your questions like this and making those little animations and being able to put them on the screen. I just think it was a cool way to interact. Alter ego with chewed. Yeah, we need more attitude in that AI. I wonder how it probably needs more input of my voice, because you have to do say all these words and stuff. So when you're reading a script or whatever, you kind of end up you sound more monotone than expressive like I am. So no, Eddie did not build the AI. Eddie always gets all the kudos. Muddy Sneakers has a question. Since both presidential candidates want to abolish taxes on tips, could that help or hurt customers in the purchase of a home? A con would be builders would see this as a stimulus and a raise in prices. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. I think, anybody that knows anything about, Social Security and how you pay in. So they used to tell us back in the day, because I used to wait tables, don't lie about how much money you ever make in tips, because you're trying to pay into your Social Security. So if something was to happen to you and you didn't claim all of your tips that you got and then pay taxes on it, your Social Security is going to be a heck of a lot lower. So that's just something to think about. It's something to think about. I don't have an answer for that. Anytime anybody gets a raise, though, anytime you give people money, it always seems that prices go up. I mean, we saw it firsthand during COVID. When a bunch of people got a bunch of money, then all of a sudden prices went to the moon. And we're not the only ones, by the way. Every time that somebody says, inflation was terrible, we're the only ones that are getting it right, by the way. The UK's had this issue. Australia's had this issue. It's not unique to the United States. It's all over, all over. Everybody had explosive prices because of COVID. Oh, and I am a BS sniffer, David Brady. I am. Sometimes when I meet people, I'm like, you ever meet people and they give you the ick? Yeah, immediately like something smells off. Yep. Kathy has a question. Welcome, Kathy. Says another question. Our married son will be having a barndominium built on our property. We're purchasing in Kentucky. Any advice for builders in Kentucky? Thanks so much. Much like modular home companies, but barndominium companies are even a more custom built type of builder. I would ask whoever you find for several references. Then go on Facebook groups about barndominiums and ask if anybody has heard of this specific builder you're wanting to work with, or a couple of them you're wanting to work with, and what their experience was, because they love to share their stories, good, bad, or indifferent. That is like the most incredible resource you can have is social media, going to those groups, finding those groups, and flushing out the bad ones and the good ones for that matter. They'll share their pictures of their barndominiums, and make sure they really understand the weight load that is required for the foundation and the framing. They do, but we've had some that have come in through Louisiana that how do I say this? They weren't necessarily the most honest people in the whole entire world. We'll just leave it at that. And they ended up taking a lot of people's deposits. And it was like when people are in the most desperate situations. So just be careful is all I'm going to say. And make sure they have their business license, builder's license. Look up their business on the Better Business Bureau. Go to those Facebook groups. Go to Reddit and find out if there's anything being said at Reddit. Go at the search bar, type in their name, see if anything comes up about that specific builder, and then make your decision from there. I always ask for references, though. If they can't give me a name and a number of someone that I can talk to on the phone where they can share pictures, that's one of the tricks that they'll use. They'll give you a name and the number of somebody, and then you'll say, oh, you know what? I would really love some photographs of your barndominium. And they're like, oh, I don't know how to send those. Red flag. They just had their daddy or their mama come up with as a referral, MH08 says, I knew taxi drivers who inflated their incomes to hire to get Social Security payment when they retired. They're paying in taxes for that, What's the Phil, Kristina Smallhorn, Donahue show? Caller, what's your question? Yeah, caller, what's your question? I have to edit all those out because I try to take out the last name of people, and I just want to put the area that they live in, Jose Wells says, I wonder if I should sell my house now, rent an apartment for a year, and then buy. I got the itch to relocate. Jose, I've got the itch to relocate so bad. I'm not even joking. Like, I have the itch. You know what? That's going to be a personal decision. I would talk with, a lender first off to figure out, what you qualify for. The second thing I would do is write a list of pros and cons. Like, what is the real reason you want to sell this house? What will this end up costing you more in the long run? You're hoping and you're counting on the fact that interest rates will keep coming down every single time. But anybody can tell you this in the chat. Who knows if they're going to keep going down, Like, maybe this is just a blip in the radar, and a year from now when you've moved out, sold your house, and now they're up at 7% or 8%. Then you're going to be like, oh, what did I do? Find out if that's a really good decision for you. Really pencil that out. Don't just sit there like, oh, you know what? I think I'm just going to sell my house. Yeah, I would definitely talk to a lender, financial advisor, see if that is the right thing to do. Another thing you could do, which would be really cool, is if you have a lot of equity in your house and you're just wanting to move like down the road or whatever, you could take some of the equity out of your first house, rent it out, and then buy your second house. And then you have an income producing property. That's something to think about. Then you wouldn't have to sell your home to get another house. You have that house and it's making you money. They're paying the mortgage for you. Something to think about. I love that idea. People do that a lot with manufactured housing. Like when they buy a mobile home, manufactured house, they'll do that. They'll buy the manufactured house, live in it for 10 years, saved a big nest egg, and then they go ahead and buy their next house, and then they rent out the manufactured home. Yay. Eddie, if you want, we can put up another question on the screen. We only have 3 this week. We had like 6 calls that came in. Most of them hung up though. I know it's AI Kristina. And I don't say, hi, this is Kristina. Welcome calling into the live stream. But it's like angry Kristina, like they said. Question, is buying land on the rise? Depends on the area. It totally depends on the area. Here in Louisiana for a hot minute, people were buying land hand over fist. But then, it slowed down considerably. People aren't buying land like they used to even 2 years ago. That's going to be very area specific. Now, if you are one of those multimillionaires, they like to buy all the land in Montana and Oklahoma. They want to buy big chunks of tracts of land, and they will buy a lot. And it doesn't matter what the market is. They're just going ahead and buying it up because they're not making any more dirt, as they know, unless they're going to cut it up like they did in San Diego or was it? No, Bay Area. Top 10 states to buy land in the United States in 2024. Oh, thank you, Edward. Let's see who is on the top 10. It's got to be like, so we got Oregon is number 1, Arizona is number 2, Florida is number 3. That's surprising. Utah, which does not surprise me, just got back from Salt Lake. It's freaking gorgeous. Texas, Nevada, Idaho, Kentucky, New Mexico, Missouri, and what's number 11? Fact. Oh, I'm a little surprised by Missouri. That kind of surprised me. Kentucky's beautiful. I've only driven through it. I don't know anything about it. But Oregon, the price of the average price for land is $6,503 per acre. Holy smokes. Arizona, the average price for an acre is $4,328. That is so cheap. Florida is $28,960. This must be in remote areas because an acre of land here is not that. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is an average. They're going through the whole entire state. Yeah, Utah, 4,664. But if you're like in St. George and an acre is a heck of a lot more than $4,000, that is, they're taking that as an average of the whole entire state. Yeah. The PR lady says being a landlord isn't a headache if you have a property manager. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. But if you have the wherewithal to do it yourself, you can save yourself some money. So, Eddie and I say Eddie and I, but Eddie manages the rental units that we have. It's more convenient. It's easier to take care of. It's, just right around the corner from our house. So we have our eye on it all the time. We can tell them that they haven't been mowing the grass. If anything comes up, like the weirdest thing happened to us. This is the God honest truth. In the middle of the evening, about 8:00 at night, we got a phone call and somebody drove off the road and drove into the house. No lie. This is not an exaggeration. Somebody actually drove through the front of the house. And because like, how hard would it have been for them to get a hold of a property manager? I don't know, you know, but we're just right around the corner. So we were able to help them clean up. And, you know, we worked together to get the plywood up so they could sleep there that night if they wanted to. You know, we could help with that situation very quickly. If you have a property manager, you can't. So you can do it either way. It's up to you. But a property manager does make it a lot more convenient for you as a landlord, that you don't have to like wait for those phone calls at 8 o'clock at night. I think I have control issues. I think that's my problem. I want to know what's in there. I want to know what's in there. Eddie, did we do did we do all the questions? I think we only did one, didn't we? Or did we do two?
Brittany,
Here.
Orlando, Florida. Oh my goodness. So I completely missed the live stream yesterday about my home question, but I'm just now rewatching it over this morning. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for answering my call with you beautiful ladies. So hope you guys have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
Oh, so Brittany asked a question on the call last week about buying a land wrapped into house. So she was just calling to leave a message to let me know that she was thankful. I appreciate you, Brittany, for leaving a call. You were my very first AI call, so I'll never forget you. You were my first one to leave a message on there, so I couldn't wait to honestly answer your question. So thank you for your comment. I appreciate it, and I'm glad we were able to share it on the stream. So Chris B said, Missouri is hard to find land. We're looking, but I did find a place that was $160,000 with a house, and 30 acres in Missouri dropped $90,000. The one thing I will tell you about Missouri that I know, because I've had people over the years move there, they're notorious for having HOAs or filed restrictions that nobody knew about until you start building something. And some neighbor will plop up the street and say, you can't have that there. It says it in your restrictions. That's my dad. That was my dad's old land, and you can't build that. There's a young couple that I follow on TikTok. They are in Missouri, and they built a container house. That's their name of the channels. Can't Contain Us. And they've had nothing but problems with the neighbors and them trying to shut them down. And it slowed them down to build the house that they wanted to, because they had built these container houses, and they built them themselves. They got the containers and have been putting them together for themselves. Like they have acres between houses, but I'm telling you, nosy neighbors that get mad that you moved into their area will find something to dig up restrictions from the middle of nowhere. So before you sign on the dotted line, look in the courthouse to see if there's any filed restrictions. Even if the title company says there isn't, tell them to look again. That's their job. So I just wanted to let you know that. The PR lady says 250 viewers and 85 likes. Let's get that ratio up. I concur, PR lady. Lawnmower says a lot of people buying land sight unseen in Texas then get bent out of shape when they find out it's flat plot of dust, no paved roads, no utilities, etc. Another thing that people need to be aware of when they're buying a piece of land, that just like Lawnmower was saying, they buy it sight unseen. They sign this paperwork, have a notary come to their house, they sign it, and they go look at this piece of land later on down the road. And somebody will like come out with a shot, you know what? And then they'll say, you can't trespass on my land. They're like, no, look, I'm just going up this road. He's like, nope, that's my driveway. You can't go up there. And it's considered landlocked land. Not all states will allow landlocked land, but many, many do. So you just bought yourself a piece of dirt that you can't even get it to. You would have to helicopter in, in order to get to that piece of land, because you would be trespassing. Now you can always ask neighbors for, some kind of easement or, some kind of paperwork that'll allow you to have access to it. But if your neighbors aren't friendly, they don't have to. There's nothing saying they have to. Not all states work this way, but just be very careful on what you're purchasing, especially if you're not going to be there to see what it looks like ahead of time. Wild Paisley says, does anyone know where you can go online to check current land rates? I haven't found one yet. Our rate is right now at 8.9%. That's going to vary by your credit score. It's going to vary by your area. I would just go to your local like credit union or bank and just ask them what, you know, the rates are for land in your area currently. And, you know, it changes daily. It changes daily. And your rates always for land are going to be higher than with a single family home on it, just to let you know.
Chris from Beloit, Wisconsin. I've looked at houses that are for sale, and the taxes don't seem to line up, like if you're looking like how much it'll be. So for the assessment, you know, I believe it's going off the assessment. So after you buy the house, won't that go up? And that is my question.
Oh, this happens a lot when you're buying a brand new construction too. So that first year that you move in to your brand new house, the tax assessed value is just for the land and not including the house. So a lot of people have bought their first home and it wasn't explained to them that after that first year, moving into this brand new house, your tax assessed value is going to go up. And they get their new payment in and they'll say, oh, you don't have enough in your reserves. You're going to have to write us a check for another $5,000. Your payment now is going up an additional 500 or two, you know, like whatever a month. And they're shocked. They're shocked, especially because no one explained it to them. It is something that can happen. And you need to put that in perspective if you're looking at anything in the area. Another thing too is they're not always assessed every single year. They might go through every, you know, couple years to reassess it. I would check with other houses in the area to see how much the assessed value is, to see if it would line up. So that way you can give an average of what your taxes would be in the future. That would be my best advice for you to figure that out. But yes, they do go up. Some areas have a cap, like it can't go up more than like 20% a year or something like that. But always those things to investigate ahead of time. Your real estate agent should be helping you with that as well. Yep. That was a great question. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. Charlton Zimmerman says, question, do old deed restrictions override updated zoning as a rule? No. So if the deed restrictions were in 1968 and the zoning changed in the area, which was something that was voted on, then that's what, you know, like if it went from commercial to residential, you know, there's no way that those residential properties could follow those deed restrictions. They would have to amend those in the courthouse. And if you ever need, like I just did a video on HOAs, you guys, if you're ever curious on anything about HOAs, if you need to amend your restrictions for your neighborhood, please get an attorney involved. Don't do this willy-nilly. And if you're trying to like get rid of your property management company that's running your HOA, that's another thing you have to vote on. You can't just decide, you know, as the board president, just to do that on your own. It has to be voted on. And I know that sounds like, of course that's true, but you'd be shocked on how many people try to do things on their own because, you know, well, I'm the president of the board. Sorry, Dan, just because you're the president, that doesn't make you the king, and you still have to vote on these things. All right. Gamer G said, question, have you seen the video where the fraudsters use AI video to attempt to sell someone's land in South Florida? They said they were deaf and the title company did a call and caught it. There's all sorts of real estate fraud. That doesn't surprise me, right? I've seen people call with AI voices to get into people's banking information. I've seen AI voices being used to say like, Mom, Dad, I need help. I've been arrested. I need you to Zelle me this money, or they're going to put me in jail. You know, like this kind of stuff happens. It's a crazy world that we live in, and like my voice is all over the internet. Somebody said, aren't you worried about that? I mean, there's nothing I can do about it at this point. I don't, they have hours and hours and hours and hours of my voice. So if they wanted to clone it and do whatever they were going to do with it, it would be very, very easy for them to do. But when it comes to real estate transactions, like one of the top fraud things isn't even AI related. It has to do with email. And what they do is they send an email to anybody that's closing, and they'll say, before you're closing on Thursday, we have changed the wiring instructions. Please let your client know, or they'll tell the client, go ahead and change the wiring instructions, or you're not going to be able to close at this time. If you ever get an email like that, first off, don't go any further. Don't click on anything. Just move it over to the side and then call your title company, not the number that's on the email itself. Go to Google or, if you have it in your phone already, go ahead and give them a call and say, hey, did you guys change the wiring instructions for my house? If the most likely they're going to tell you no. I can honestly tell you it's a 99.99999% chance that they did not change the wiring instructions. There's no reason for that. So you're going to have to call and verify with them. If you don't even feel secure with that, like calling the phone number because you got it from Google, march your happy butt into the car, give yourself a little drive to the title office, walk in there and ask them. That's a face-to-face conversation. So you know that what you're doing is the correct thing. If you don't want to wire it, many title companies will go ahead and take a cashier's check. So you can work it out that way. Yay! But yeah, fraud in real estate has been going on since the dawn of time. Tearing down an old trailer with land is not cost effective in Seattle. Regulations for cleanup, lead paint, and not allowing reusing septic to connect to sewer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It can be in many areas. I mean, it may not be in Seattle, but in a lot of areas, it's really, really cost effective because the utilities are already out there. A lot of times the sewer is already out there, or they have, it's the county water and sewer. So all you have to do is reconnect the lines. I didn't know that about Seattle. That's interesting that they won't allow for that. But yeah, I want to go back to the fraud thing. One of the biggest frauds when it comes to real estate is land. And if you go to a lot of websites, there's tons of them on the internet that says, we sell land for cheap. We have cheap land. Oh, all you have to do is fill out our documents and we'll give you this piece of land for, $2,000 and then our doc fees. Again, it's somebody that comes to your house. You think it's very official. You have this notary come in, you're stamping everything. You're like, wow, this is fantastic. I just bought a piece of land. I can't wait to build on it. Only to find out you bought nothing. Somebody found that land on a county website and they put it on the internet. They said that they owned it. They put it up for sale. And you just got frauded out of a couple $1,000s. That happens a lot. Scammers, I hate them. If they use that energy, they spend so much time trying to scam people. If they spent that time actually doing something productive, can you imagine what the world would be like? Man, I know a girl can dream. How do I finance land for the future home build years down the road? How do I finance land for the future home build years down the road? Okay, so you just go to the bank. You just can go ahead and get yourself a land loan. And it's, the financing terms are completely different than they are for a traditional home. So you'll have to go over the terms with them and then find out how much you qualify for so that you can build your future home. Just before you buy that piece of land, make sure you find out like the zoning, find out the what the water table is, if it's, in a flood zone, or it looks like it could possibly change flood zones. Cause I know a lot of people that were in flood zone X find out, 10 years later, they're no longer an X and that's been changed because FEMA changes those maps all the time. Also find out if they have a register plat map, how recent is that plat map, if they have a survey, anything that you can find out about that piece of land beforehand, and talk to the neighbors because they'll tell you all sorts of stuff. Do that, take your time. People just think it's just a piece of dirt, but it's a lot more than that. That was one of the things that probably surprised me the most about real estate, was how much goes into buying a piece of land, developing a piece of land, what makes a good piece of land. That's when you really want to work with a qualified land specialist real estate agent, because you can get in way over your head. Overjoyed says you can't trust anybody anymore. I think I wouldn't say you couldn't trust anybody. And I know what you're saying, right? But I think all of us just need to take a little bit extra steps than we probably would have beforehand. And maybe we should have done that beforehand in the first place. Think about how many times you probably were bamboozled and didn't know it. Now it's just easier for us to find out if we're being bamboozled. Yep. Rick Smith says, I don't even trust myself. There are many times I don't trust myself. If I've eaten Taco Bell, I don't trust myself. Who knows what's going to happen? I could have the same problem as my friend Kyle Seagraves right now. Who likes scams or scammers? Oh, other scammers. Have you ever, I met somebody, and you guys all know these people. I call them the dreamers, right? They always have this big plan and this big dream, and they're going to make all this money, and they hang out with other people, and there's always one at the top, right? There's always one at the top that's making all the money, but they're going to trickle it down to their friends and help them make tons of money. It's always a thing. It's always a thing. The people that like scammers are other scammers. Who's up first says, exploring hypotheticals, historical trends. If a correlation happens with an economic downturn, what can buyers expect in terms of price changes? Price declines within weeks, months, years? Interesting question. So we're going to play a little game called the housing market is going to crash. Right? We're just playing this game. What would cause that to happen? The only thing in my brain right now that would cause a significant downturn in prices is if we had a collapse of the jobs market, where we see lots of organizations letting off workers, and those people that own homes that income depends on paying the mortgage would have no choice but to have to sell it. We saw this back in 2008. We saw what happened, right? People were getting laid off. They bought more house than they could afford, and they had no choice but to sell it because they were in a financial situation that they had no choice. To me, that takes time. So let's just say tomorrow, newspaper, unprecedented times, massive job layoffs, right? So they miss one payment, 2 payments, 3 payments, 4 payments. Now they're getting papers in the mail from their lenders. They're getting papers in the mail from the courthouse. It's taking, some areas take as little as 3 to 4 to 6 months. Some take years before the foreclosure process is complete, that it actually goes on the market, right? But that doesn't mean all the houses that the bank forecloses on actually go on the open market for us as consumers to purchase. A lot of times when the bank has a lot of properties sitting on their books, they want to relieve those books as quickly as possible. So they'll take a bundle of those properties and say, hey, Mr. Blackstone Company, we have over 200 homes in Atlanta. We want them off of our books. This is how much the mortgages are. How much are you willing to give to us? And then they'll do almost like an auction between all of these big investors to buy these bulk houses. It happens all the time. So it would take at least a good 2 years to see a huge decline. huge decline, because we started seeing houses that were going up for sale very quickly after 2007. 2008, it was very clear that the bubble had popped. It wasn't in 2009 that we really start seeing prices just shoot, you know. We saw the writing on the wall in 2007 when we lived in Orlando, Florida. We just all of a sudden started seeing houses go up for sale, just one right after another. And I looked at Eddie and said, we got to get out of here. And he's like, you're right. And so we left for Louisiana. Good thing, because how home prices went in the toilet. But it took a good year after that. 2008 is when they really started seeing home prices fall. But it wasn't, I mean, they didn't fall to their lowest amount in 2008. It was like 2009, 2010 when they finally hit rock bottom. So that was a long explanation. Sorry, but that's what I would think is it would take a massive economic downturn would be from people losing their jobs. Tina Lacey says, question, is there any way to make restrictions, conditions, and covenants on real estate that you own remain in perpetuity, whether you keep it or sell it? You would have to talk to a title attorney about this. But yes, I think if from what I know, yes, but that does not mean that that's true in your area. If you have a piece of property, I would talk to a title attorney about it. I hope you guys leave me some messages for next week. I like hearing your voices. I like what your questions are. I want to hear it. Second question, does the original development neighborhood be changed to an HOA, or reverse HOA can be dissolved? Yes, you can dissolve an HOA. So almost every single development you see being built today is built by a developer, and the HOA is already established. The builder does this because it allows for him to build faster. When the HOAs are designed so the area, the city government does not have to take care of the roads, the lights, anything that goes on in that neighborhood, whether it snows, the snow plows, de-icing the roads. They don't want to have to go into every single neighborhood and have to do that. So if a new developer comes in and says, yeah, we're going to go ahead and build 250 houses in this area, we're going to establish this HOA. So this would not be a strain on resources in your community. It allows them to build them faster. So you have to make arrangements with your local government. You're going to have to work with attorneys in order to dissolve it. And you're going to have to prove that the HOA was ineffective for the neighborhood and for the community, and it's causing some kind of financial distress to keep it the way that it's at. But yes, it can be done, and you have to vote on that. You can't, I think it depends on your restrictions and how they read. Sometimes it's more than a 50% vote. Sometimes it's more than a 60% vote. And sometimes it's more than a 90% vote. You have to have 90% of the community that agrees to dissolve the HOA and for it to be dissolved. And just because you guys agreed on it, all of that paperwork, all the filed restrictions, everything has to be put back into the courthouse. It has to be filed, or it doesn't mean anything. You have to prove the fact in the courthouse. So when future people are selling their homes, that they know that this house is not in a HOA any longer. Has to be filed. Money Sinker 77 said, have you seen that appraisal scam or multi-state lawsuits because of the CAD? To summarize, states are broke and using unlawful appraisal tactics to collect more money. It's nuts. Yes. So if you're talking about the taxes, yes. They've been doing drones. They've been using computer systems. When you're talking about appraisals where they call them drive-by appraisals, which nobody actually drives by, or they just have some kid take a picture of the house. That's been going on for a very long time. And a lot of cases where, yes, I have seen where they have done unlawful appraisers, just like in any industry, any single one industry, there's bad apples everywhere. You have good appraisers and you have bad appraisers. There's a poor guy that's been doing appraisals here in my area. Man, this dude gets it handed to him. And honest to God, I've never had a problem with him because he's not going to give something more value than what it's worth. And like a lot of real estate agents are like, yeah, but it's got this, and they'll throw a fit. The guy does a great job, but he gets a lot of flack because he will not appraise things that he feels like they don't have appraised value to them. Just because you have an above ground swimming pool in your yard does not give you the same appraised value as an in-ground swimming pool, those kinds of things. A lot of real estate agents here in the area can't stand up, but there's good appraisers and there's bad appraisers. There's ones that are trying to scam and there's ones that won't. Just like anything, you just got to keep your eye out on them. Got to keep an eye on them. Lexical Gap says, question, what is the logistical changes happen when you pay off your house? Well, you're still going to have to pay your insurance and your taxes. That never goes away. Your house is paid off, but you still have those, and those will always continue to go up. You want to work with your financial advisor if you have a lot of equity in that house, if it's the right thing for you to do to keep a mortgage on your house. Some people in the future will decide to tap into the equity and do reverse mortgages. That's something you could look into. Be careful with that as well, because those can be scams as well. So just be careful. But to pay off my house, I mean, I know a lot of people are like, yay, I paid off my house party and everything. But I'm like, you're sitting on all that equity that could be making you more money. How can you leverage that equity? Real estate is so, if billionaires didn't think real estate was a wise investment, then why would they buy so much real estate? The biggest billionaires in the world own a lot of stuff because it makes them a lot of money. So to me, if you got equity and you're sitting on that equity in your house, use it in your advantage. So that way you can make even more money. It's kind of like, it's to me, when you pay off your house, it's like equivalent to stuffing money under a mattress. It's not going to do anything. I mean, of course it's going to still grow because the area of money is still growing, but you could even grow that even more. And who doesn't love more money? Stevenson says, have you heard of the Reno to Sell program? I have not. Eddie, let's pull that up. Eddie's the man that's going to pull this up for us. Reno to Sell. This is interesting. Is this out of Nevada? Nevada. Da, 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 da. Is this the... Eddie's looking for it. He's a good dude. All right, here we go. Our Reno to Sell program is partnered with local and experienced contractors with over 100 renovation success stories. With 100 home renovation success stories, the program offers qualified properties to have repairs, upgrades completed with no money out of pocket, and the program will recoup the funds later from closing if the sale proceeds. Yes, it's that simple. So it's basically helping home flippers flip the property at an assessed value prior to them fixing it. I mean, what could go wrong? I don't know. Kristina, I mean, it's great if you're an investor. I don't know if it's going to be great for the consumer. I don't know. That smells like a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. I'll have to look into that more to see if there's any more details on that. Dan Peter says, are you guys seeing an influx in LA of insurance companies refusing to write policies or terming policies shortly after writing one for closing? Yes. So in Louisiana, we have dwindled down the availability of the amount of providers we've had. So we used to have Progressive for our insurance. But what they did was they more than doubled our premium from the year before. So they're staying in the area because they want the car insurance policies, but they don't want the home policy. So what they do is they just raise the premium so incredibly high that you don't want to use them. So yes, we are seeing that here. And we're not the only ones. I mean, it's happening in Florida. It's happening in the coastline of Texas. It's happening in any coastal area, like all those coastal areas. It's all the way across, all the way through Florida. You can start from Texas and go all the way to Florida, and you'll see how insurance companies did us wrong. I love sharing this story because it's 100% true, and it happened to my husband and I. Back when Jeb Bush was the governor of Florida, State Farm said, we're no longer going to write any more homeowners insurance policies in the area. Not only that, we are going to start pulling the homeowners insurance policies in the area. And Jeb Bush said, hold on a minute. Are you keeping your car insurance here? And they're like, well, yeah. And he said, well, if you're going to pull out of your home insurance in Florida, you're going ahead and pulling out your car insurance as well, because you can't have both. You can't have it this way where you're only getting the car insurance. And they went, oh, just kidding. We're going to stay. Sorry about that. But they did raise their premiums quite a bit. So you didn't want to use them for homeowners insurance in Florida. That was a gazillion years ago, a lifetime ago. But I think more and more governors I think they need to start putting their foot down more with these insurance companies, because they know they're seeing record profits. And the CEOs of those companies are getting record bonus checks. And we're not talking, a couple $100,000. We're talking millions of dollars a year as a bonus on top of their income off the backs of us. It's gross. I think more people need to have a little cojones, as they say, and sticking up for us little people, just like Jeb Bush did back in the day. Tina Lacey says, question, Kristina, thanks for answering. I had always wondered about that, protect the property I own now and then get it in the near future. Well, I mean, if you live in an area, like if I was to just stay in Louisiana, and there was like a cute little piece of property over here, I would buy it, and hold on to it until Eddie and I were ready to retire. But Eddie and I's desire to stay in Louisiana is not going to be forever. That is for sure. Not that we hate it or anything like that. It's been great. It's just that we get antsy, we get itchy. We don't have a problem moving. My dad moved me many times. Eddie's moved many times. And, it just seems like after like 10 years, we start getting antsy. We've lived here a little bit longer than 10 years, but you know what I'm saying. Annie Shenanigans says, question. So now that I have paid off my house, your logic makes sound like I should go back in debt for what purpose? I'm not saying it's not. You're borrowing against yourself. You're borrowing against yourself to make more opportunities for yourself in other ways. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you that it's just one thing to think about if you're sitting on a bunch of equity. I would never tell anybody to do anything with their own money, ever. Never, ever, ever. That is not for me to decide. That is for a financial advisor and yourself to work out the pros and cons of dipping into the equity of your house. A lot of people feel a lot of security once their home is paid off, and have at it. Do what you must. And, if you're heading to retirement age and you're, like, maybe that isn't the best decision for you. But if you're in your mid 30s, like if you paid off your house, dip into that equity. There's opportunities for you out there. I'm just giving you an idea of what you could do with your equity in your home. That's all. I would never, ever, ever, never. I even flat out will tell you, I am not a financial advisor. It says it in the description at the bottom. Just because I said something, please don't ever listen to me. Listen to 1,000 different people so you can make a good, confident decision to do what you want with your money. Who's on first? Kristina. Does Kristina have a late show top 10 list of her favorite affordable towns to live in the U.S.? Should Kristina add a weekly top 10 list and late show band with the stream? You know what? That's not a bad idea, though. I mean, not the band, but maybe a top 10 list, most affordable places. We could like do something each week, like a little fun fact, like what's the cheapest area to live in the United States? And we do a little game show. I used to, if you go back to my very first streams, and Lawnmower can tell you, he's in the chat, I used to do a real estate trivia show. Eddie and I were both on the stream. So if you want to know what my good looking husband looks like, he's on those streams. You probably can see him in the thumbnail pictures as well. And we used to have little cool real estate trivia facts. And I used to actually give away gumbo cups. This kid right here. Haven't seen you in a while. Once a month, top 10 sounds fun. Yeah, once a month. That sounds good. Let me show you my gumbo cups. Back in the day when I used to do a trivia show, this was it. These were the cups I used to give away. Your real estate whisperer gumbo cups. There might be some people in the chat that actually have one of these. It's a collector's item. Now, I have a couple of them. I should probably just give them away. Oh, look, here's another one. Yeah, I've got 3 right here. I still have 3 of them left. All right, everybody. I want to say thank you to our moderators. I want to appreciate every single one of you being here. I know that Kyle was supposed to be here to talk about mortgage rates, but he will be here next week. Little tummy bug. He'll be back. He'll be back next week. If you need to get a hold of me, you can always go to my website at KristinaSmallhorn.com. Fill out one of the pink buttons. Just click on a pink button, fill out the form, and we can talk about your real estate needs. If you want to listen to this as a podcast, you can, and you can just go to anywhere you listen to podcasts. Type in Kristina Smallhorn, Real Estate for Everyone, and you can listen to this one. It will be up next. It'll be up on the site on Monday. Eddie always puts them up on Monday. See, Eddie does do something else. He puts up the podcast, and it just sounds just like this. There's nothing fancy in it. There's no commercials in it. I'm not trying to sell you anything. You just want to share that with some friends and family, especially if you put your voice on my new AI answering system. You can share that with your friends from the podcast sites. If you guys want to have your question asked next week and you wanted to do one of those phone call questions, remember the phone number is 888-255-0197, and leave me a message and I'll make the little animation. I'll leave off your last name and I'll just put in the actual if you want me to just put the state you live in, that's fine. Just go ahead and put that up there, and then I'll put it up on the screen. You get to hear your voice. The more they get, the happier I get. So, all right, everybody, we have a closing video for you right here. Eddie's gonna roll it right now. I have a closing theme song. Ready? Eddie's gonna put it up. Put it up, buddy. Any moment.
Kristina signing off. This stream's about to close. Tiny homes, big dreams, the wisdom she bestows. Real estate queen, always keeping us in toes. Hustle on 1,000, every vibe she shows. Goodbye, Kristina, see you next time. In a world full of chaos, you bring the prime. From modular homes to the mortgage climb. Catch you on the flip in the next rhyme. From mobile homes to mansion goals, Kristina's wisdom breaking molds. Dropping knowledge like we dropping gold.